YouTube says it has had enough of vaccine misinformation on its site.
And false stories from phony sites to run circles around major news outlets.
Many people don't know the difference between something real and something created to deceive them.
Open your eyes.
If you've ever had this feeling that something was terribly wrong with the world that we live in, but you couldn't figure out just what it was, then you've come to the right place. Secret societies, mystery religions, and the Illuminati have been controlling our reality since the beginning of time. But not anymore, because there is an awakening happening, and you are about to become a part of it. Wake up, because this is a call for an uprising.
This is a call for an uprising. Welcome to today's show. The 33rd Summer Olympic Games ended with a massive satanic ritual that I need to break down for everybody out there. So make sure you share this video and watch it in its entirety. I already covered the opening ceremony, which, of course, I'm sure most of you already saw exposed by me or by somebody else or by your own eyes, because you didn't even really need a breakdown. It was so clear, the satanic imagery and the stuff that they were pushing in the opening ceremony. But this is very important, this closing ceremony. It's very important to note this, because I'll show you the common theme that we're seeing with the fallen angels, CERN, portals, and bringing over what's on the other side, because that's exactly what they're showing you conveniently at the 33rd Summer Games. So let's start with that. The 33rd Summer Games, it's very important to note the number 33 and how important it is to the occult. 1/3 of the fallen angels is what the number 33 represents. In Revelation chapter 12, verse 4, and his tail drew the third part of the stars of heaven and did cast them to the earth. And the dragon stood before the woman which was ready to be delivered for to devour her child as soon as I was born. That is referencing the fallen angels, the 1/3 of the stars falling from heaven. The Bible references Satan and his angels being cast out down to the earth. We also know how much they love to push the term stars when it comes to celebrities. They love to use that term as well. So that is referencing the 1/3 of the fallen angels that were cast out. We know in Freemasonry, 33, how important that number is to them in Freemasonry, who their god is Lucifer, which I'll show you in a few moments here. But 33, highest level you could ascend to in Freemasonry. And the logo is important to note as well for the Paris Olympics and how it represents the sigil for Jupiter. You could see that logo. Some people will see it and they'll say, well, they're just representing the Eiffel Tower. But if you actually look, you could even see just how obvious it is with the number 2. You know, it looks like a 2, how it's broken off. And this represents Jupiter. Why is that important? Because if you remember in the Bible, the patron god or the god of Babylon went by the name Marduk in scripture. Marduk in Greek mythology is associated with the planet Jupiter. In astrology, Marduk is associated with the planet Jupiter. Marduk was a prominent figure in Babylon. He was looked at as the patron god of Babylon, god of creation, water, agriculture, medicine, and magic, which are one in the same. And Marduk translates to Merodach, and in Jeremiah chapter 50, verse 2, declare ye among the nations and publish and set up a standard. Publish and conceal, not say Babylon is taken. Baal is confounded. Merodach is broken in pieces. So that's what you're seeing referenced there. Babylon. Babylon, Babylon. Remember that as we continue here when I show you Lucifer falling, because that's what they're showing you in this ceremony. People just see the Olympics. You know, this is supposed to be a sporting event. How does one correlate this stuff that you see in these rituals that they're doing with the Olympic sports? They don't. But people out there don't pay attention. They just watch this stuff and expect to be entertained while they're getting spell casted on without even realizing it. So the theme is the Golden Voyager. That's what they tell you you're about to see here, is the Golden Voyager. It's very eerily similar to the Gotthard Tunnel ritual ceremony, which I've exposed many times. But we see this Golden Voyager, who is Lucifer, descending from the sky. And remember, Lucifer to the occult is the light bearer. Albert Pike famously in his books teaches that Lucifer, and this is what all the Freemasons and all the members of secret societies believe, Lucifer the light bearer, strange and mysterious name to give to the spirit of darkness. Lucifer the son of the morning. It is he who bears the light, and with its splendors, intolerable blinds, feeble, sensual, or selfish souls doubt it not. That's why they're depicting Lucifer here falling from the sky, coming down from the sky as this golden figure. And you'll notice even with the way that his legs are positioned in the clip I'm about to play for you, you could see a lot of the symbolism on the tarot cards that they love to use so much. The Hanged Man. And the Hanged Man represents sacrifice. That's what the Hanged Man in the tarot cards represents. But here is a clip. Let's start with this one of Lucifer coming down, being cast out from heaven, falling onto the earth. So you'll even see how the stage is set up. That's supposed to depict the nations. That is supposed to depict the earth and the nations on the earth. So you see Lucifer come down. You even see him touch the water, poison the water, which again, we know is what they've done here on earth, right? With the fluoride and the other things that they've polluted our water and contaminated our water with. They strategically put that in as well, having him touch the water. But you'll notice after this, what I'm about to play for you, which is just unbelievable. Another common theme, I mentioned the Gotthard Tunnel, right? You'll see demons arrive and you'll see a portal. Now, what you'll see and what people are talking about, they think what they're seeing here is grays. And they're going, why are they showing us grays, right? And if you are new to all this stuff, and I know most of you already know this, but Aleister Crowley, in his teachings, he said, today they call them angels and demons. Tomorrow they will call them something else. And the depiction of what we all visualize a gray or an alien as is actually the demon Lam from Aleister Crowley's teachings, the demon that he summoned. Look at this theme. We see this all the time. All of these, these demons emerging as they raise up this portal. Again, common theme, portal. I've been talking about it a lot recently because we're seeing it a lot recently. Look at the demons, Lucifer with the fallen ones, with the demons entering through the portal. So how anybody could look at that and then tell us that that is some type of an artistic expression, that this is something to do with, people playing basketball or swimming at the Olympics. Well, they're just either really, really dumbed down, which is the case most of the time, or they're refusing to actually see this stuff for what it truly is. This is not art. They get away with this stuff by calling it art. Now, I mentioned the common theme that we keep seeing with portals. I recently even covered Epic, the Epic universe that they're opening up, which is going to be all about magic and witchcraft, how the entranceway is a portal. They call it the portal to get into the theme park, right? New York City just had this portal put in New York City. Now, of course, I'm not saying it's a portal that you can go to and you could jump through the portal. It was a camera to see into other countries like Ireland, okay? It was normalizing. They're normalizing this theme of portals and dimensions and dimension hopping around us, right? Or entering and exiting and bringing things over from the other side. So they had this in New York City just randomly, right? Who funded it? Who gave permission for it? Well, of course, nobody asked questions like that and why that's even sitting in the middle of New York City. Recently, Katy Perry, sleep tight for tomorrow the portal opens, as she announced one of her new albums that's coming out. Eminem within the last month or two, showing himself coming through a portal. Right? And you might say to yourself, okay, so what is the portal about? What are you saying? That there's a portal somewhere? Well, what I'm saying is that yes, indeed, they are attempting to bring over things from the other side. And that's what CERN is. That's where we start to look at this stuff. So if you see those things and you say, well, what do you mean? They're just a big giant circle somewhere, right? How would they bring things over to the other side? Well, in the name of science, of course, because that's what they do to deceive the minds of the masses. They call it science. They don't explain to you what they're really trying to do, because they know if they say science and then they start giving you all these big words and talk about black holes and matter, that you won't understand it. And you'll just say, hey, I'm too dumb to get this. I'm not a scientist, right? But it's actually really easy to figure out if you don't fall for their deceptions and their bullcrap that they constantly try to push on us. So even recently, we had the USA Today, and we've had many news outlets who mock what CERN is really trying to do. They mock us, right? They feel the need to put these articles out because they want to make sure that it shows up in a search engine if anybody out there does get suspicious, that the first thing they see is, no, CERN won't open a portal during the eclipse. That would be impossible, right? Now, for those of you that don't know about CERN, let me show you real quickly. CERN, this is their logo. You can even see the 666, so blatantly obvious in their logo and everything they're trying to do there. CERN's commercial sums it up best. This is people who are scientists. They tell us what they're trying to do is scientific. We don't understand. But anybody out there with even the most minimal discernment should be able to see that. Well, this doesn't look like science. This looks like something demonic, right? You could see this commercial. I'll play a clip for you where they're even showing you, right? They're doing these ritualistic dances, right? What do you think, that they're just randomly doing this stuff? Oh yeah, we're going to film a commercial about what we're doing over at CERN, and we're going to just show you all this really bizarre dancing inside of a huge circle, which we all know of. Or where do we see large circles? Well, involved with magic, right? Anytime you watch a show about magic or a movie about magic, it's always depicted that they're around this huge circle, right? Well, that's their protection circle. And we see the ritual in this. And you can even see at the end of it, these spirits coming over from the other side. And it's called symmetry. Right? And of course, again, I have to show you these clips so that you have an understanding. You could share this with people because this stuff is all right in front of us. Stranger Things, one of the most popular shows in a long time. Everybody watches the series Stranger Things. Not everybody, but I mean, a lot of people know of Stranger Things. You've heard of Stranger Things, right? The whole concept of the show is about CERN. They even tell you this. Well, how could we what is upside down? And how could we bring these things over? What is happening? Well, things are coming over from the other side. Well, how would that happen? Well, you would need massive amounts of energy. Oh, right. You mean massive amounts of energy like what they're trying to do at CERN with the Hadron Collider? Does this sound familiar?
Basically, there are parallel universes, infinite variations of it.
Like the Veil of Shadows.
And the tightrope is our dimension. And our dimension has rules. You can move forwards or backwards. The flea can also travel this way.
Upside down.
Exactly.
Is there any way for the acrobat to get to the upside down?
You'd have to create a massive amount of energy. Open up some kind of tear in time and space. You create a doorway, like a gate. It might even swallow us up whole.
Now, have you heard of the Garrow Research Facility?
In Long Island, the particle accelerator?
Yeah.
It actually splits the proton of the atom.
Well, you know more than I do.
Well, it's a 14-mile loop that accelerates electrons and protons close to the speed of light.
Local parishes in Ryland are protesting. the particle accelerator will open the gates of hell.
So the scientists, they want us to prove they're not opening the gates of hell.
What's that? Something that was filmed down in the particle accelerator.
Satan, help us open this portal. We deliver this sacrifice to you.
Again, it's a common repetitive theme, right? Even that TV show Evil, which I showed you there at the end, also covering CERN and Revelation 18:10, right? Talking about opening up the gates of hell. So back to the Olympic ceremony, because it gets more ridiculous. Of course, it gets more ridiculous, right? So then we see this golden Voyager, which is Lucifer. We see him standing and watching as a decapitated angel comes out from underneath. Take a look.
Trying to live.
So we see this armless, headless depiction of an angel. And again, common theme here at the Olympics. Well, decapitation is clearly a common theme, right? We saw the decapitation in the opening ceremony that I covered, which was very demonic, but it was also very fitting that they used Marie Antoinette in the opening ceremony, because Marie was decapitated for treason, which is what you're seeing happening on a quote-unquote global scale right now. So they're paying homage to somebody who was decapitated for treason. And what you're seeing around the world is all these political figures who are not elected, who are being put in these positions, committing global treason, so to speak. So decapitation is a common theme, and that's referencing the book of Revelation. Revelation chapter 20, verse 4. And I saw thrones, and they sat upon them, and judgment was given unto them. And I saw the souls of them that were beheaded for the witness of Jesus and for the word of God, and which had not worshipped the beast, neither his image, neither had received his mark upon their foreheads or in their hands. And they lived and reigned with Christ 1,000 years. That is referencing the beheading that will come for the witness of Jesus and for those who do not worship the beast. This is all biblical. And of course, it wraps up with them doing the hymn for Apollo, right? And of course, we all know Apollo is really code for Lucifer, just a repackaged Apollo so they could get away with this stuff. And the Olympics are all focused around Apollo, so it's no surprise that they would, of course, have this hymn for Lucifer, hymn for Apollo, and Apollo referenced in Revelation chapter 9, verse 11, which is very key to remember that day, or excuse me, that number 9/11 and what everyone thinks of on that day, and that bottomless pit that you see sitting in the place that massive sacrifice took place, right? In Revelation chapter 9, verse 11. And they had a king over them, which is the angel of the bottomless pit, whose name in Hebrew tongue is Abaddon, but in the Greek tongue hath his name Apollyon. Okay? The angel of the bottomless pit. So that's, I mean, you look at this stuff and it's hard for people to actually understand it because, you know, most churches, they're not going to teach. Most churches don't even speak on Revelation. We all know that. I mean, I'm sure most of you, wherever you get, you know, fulfilled with the word, I'm sure you're listening to some pastors who talk about Revelation, but I'm talking about on a large scale, right? None of these cookie cutter ministries that we see go into detail about Revelation. But if you actually look at the book of Revelation, you'll see a lot of the stuff that we see in these quote unquote ceremonies play out through the book of Revelation, right? Revelation gives us this blueprint of the end times. And then in these rituals that they perform, they give us the horsemen of the apocalypse. They give us the keys to the bottomless pit. I mean, they're referencing all this stuff constantly, but they call it art. And then they just tell you that it's something else. And that's all it takes for the dumbed down masses is for them to tell you that it's really not what everybody out there says, right? They give you a whole breakdown on this immediately following the Olympics. They come out and say, no, it's not what people out there are saying. We'll tell you why, that it's not really satanic, that the Gold Voyager doesn't represent Lucifer, that this was really about French culture, because they can just get away with whatever they want by just giving you some bullcrap foo-food explanation of what really should be easy for people out there with discernment to see, what they're depicting here. Again, I broke it down for you. I showed you all of these things. This is all biblical, right? We could even see, why they used the image of the gold Voyager, which is Lucifer, why he was covered in gold, right? Being the light bearer, how they feel and how they interpret the light bearer, even having the feet with the hangman and sacrifice, right? How Lucifer comes down and then that portal ends up conveniently being open. The portal, we just constantly see themes of a portal, but everybody out there is just like, oh, because it's neat, right? Not to mention all the stuff that goes on now with Marvel and these comic books where they're doing all these multiverses, where they're just dimension hopping and going through portals. They're normalizing this. As crazy as it sounds, they're normalizing this while CERN is out openly admitting to trying to open a black hole for the most part. And nobody's connecting the dots on it, right? And as time continues to go by, people are like desensitized to portals and all these things. When this stuff gets revealed, they'll be like, oh, cool. It'll be like being in the multiverse, right? Oh, we're going to bring over some friendly aliens from the other side, right? Yeah, we're going to bring over some demons from the other side. No problem. Are they nice demons? Oh, sure, they're nice. I mean, it's utter insanity, but this all correlates. Well, you see the dumbing down of society, right? And the fact that people can laugh this stuff off. They laugh all this stuff off. And that's really because they can't wrap their heads around it. It's a lot for them to take in. It's a very short attention span. All this stuff that they do is done by design, right? TikTok, shorter videos. The attention span has dwindled and dwindled and dwindled. So this is too much for people to comprehend. And that's why, with this channel, I'm constantly trying to peel the layers back little by little. Even if I have to, by showing you the repetition, I'm showing you what they're showing us. But when you see it in repetition form, when you say, oh, look, same thing here, 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 and here, it actually helps your mind process it and say, okay, they're showing me this. There is a pattern there. And you are able to, like an onion, peel layers off little by little. So that was the Olympic Games closing ceremony. Lucifer, the Golden Voyager. We saw the opening of a portal. We saw all these little grays on the stage, right? All these demons on the stage, of course. Always the same thing with this portal, right? The circular portal, whether it's at the newest theme parks or whether it's in every music video, in every movie or Stranger Things, you name it, right? And then, of course, the beheading of that angel that they depicted. And you'll probably see less pushback on the closing ceremonies than you did on the opening ceremonies, because there's a difference between gaslighting you like they did in the opening ceremonies, deliberately trying to get people upset, knowing that by depicting the Last Supper, they can get Fox News to air, a lot of things about it. They could talk to Trump about it to get you angry as a Christian and get lured into being mad. And of course, rightfully so, but they were depicting a picture that's not even in the Bible. The Last Supper, of course, is in the Bible, but that depiction is not in the Bible, the actual photo. But yes, obviously disgusting. So you'll see them talk about that, but you won't hear them talk about the closing ceremony because they won't break it down for you, because they'll just say, oh, well, what? Oh, well, that's all open. That's open to interpretation, right? Is it? What exactly would anybody explain to me? And I've read some of this stuff, and it's just bullcrap about French culture and about, oh, well, that's what it really represents, this Greek goddess or that Greek goddess. This is biblical, and it's constantly out there. So more people hopefully will see this video and have a bigger waking up than they did with the opening ceremony, which was deliberately done to incite and keep people in their left-right, bubbles getting angry at each other over, oh, it's a liberal opening ceremony for the Democrats, they disrespect. Yeah, that stuff's all true, but that's being done by design. They don't expect you to be able to decode and interpret all this stuff that they're showing you with opening portals and dimensions and summoning demons while Lucifer is comes down from the fallen angel. Lucifer comes down after being cast out from heaven right in front of your faces, folks. I thank everybody for being here. Hope you're all doing well. God bless you as always and your families.